welcome everyone to our special webinar for Perimeter 81 customers on unlocking internet security success with a secure web gateway. I'm Miriam Brand. I'm in product marketing here at Perimeter 81. And it is my pleasure to introduce our special guest, Amit Bareket, our CEO and co-founder, and he's going to start with a few words, an update about Perimeter 81 and what we've been up to. And after Amit has finished his update, we'll have Tal Laufer, our VP product, to explain more about web. And then we're going to have Ophir Adani doing a demo of our web filtering feature, a big part of our new secure web gateway. So our agenda is first a special update on Perimeter 81 from Amit, and then we're going to hear about the importance of a secure web gateway. We're going to hear about how our web filtering works with a demo from Ophir, what the differences are between URL filtering and DNS filtering. So many of you are already familiar with DNS filtering on the network, and what URL filtering can add in terms of web security. Some secure web gateway best practices for you when you're setting up your secure web gateway. And finally, an overview of malware protection, which is the second part of the Perimeter 81 secure web gateway. And finally, some time for Q&A. So just a quick housekeeping note, you'll see on your screen a place where you can add questions. So please feel free to add questions throughout the presentation, and we will return to them at the end of the presentation. And with no further ado, here is Amit.
Yes, so hi everyone, and thank you very much for joining this webinar. I'm excited to be here and open this webinar alongside Tal Laufer, our VP Product, and Ophir from the product team, as well as Miriam. In just about 3 years, we've managed to grow significantly, and today we have more than 2,200 business customers that are utilizing the platform and Perimeter 81 to consume a secure corporate over the network, over the internet. We see an increase number of basically challenges while employees are working from anywhere, and resources are moving to the cloud, and the fact that the internet became the new corporate network. In the past few years, we've really doubling down on working with our own customers, right? On understanding what are the challenges, how can we be better, what are the product developments that are needed to be done in order to get their job done easier. We've built a very strong foundation with worldwide network and backbone based on 40 different data centers and POPs we run and manage all around the globe, and building a software solution that drives value and answers 3 main use cases that we continuously see from our customers, which are remote access and ZTNA, which we call external to internal, internet security with our SWG service that we've recently launched, and Tal and Ophir will describe in more detail, and interconnectivity. And we've gained a very large maturity, and I strongly believe we've developed the most comprehensive and advanced remote access solution that is out there in the market today. But the past 1.5 years, we really doubled down here internally with the product teams and development teams, and also communicated with some of you, our customers, right, into how does our internet security solution needs to look like. And we came up with a very strong and holistic secure web gateway offering that is truly embedded and built as an holistic product and solution that is embedded with our existing infrastructure and the existing platform that includes a single agent, a single network, and a single management console. We've released several new features, including the monitoring dashboard to provide more visibility and redundant tunnels in order to create higher redundancy and availability between your connection of Perimeter 81 to your existing infrastructure. But the SWG web gateway, the secure web gateway, the SWG, is truly revolutionary, as it not only addresses a better performance or stability or more advanced features in regards to our remote access solution, but more specifically, enhancing and giving a new way to secure your employees while they're accessing the internet. And I will hand off the conversation now to Tal, our VP of Product, in order to continue the conversation. I wanted to thank you, and I'm excited to be here. And Tal.
All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Tal Laufer. I'm the VP Product for Perimeter 81. And I'm super excited to be here tonight and tell you a little bit about our roadmap and about the new feature that we are just now releasing, the Secure Web Gateway. So starting off from the roadmap update, we always like to keep the transparency and tell our customers about what we plan on doing. So first of all, this quarter in Q1, we released the Secure Web Gateway functionality that is the subject of this webinar. We have also released redundant tunnel, high availability tunnels, which is a feature that allows you to build redundant tunnels to your cloud, to your resources, and make sure that there is no one single point of failure on the network path. In Q2, we have a lot of nice features coming up, very exciting features that are coming up. We're going to be adding some more features for our service providers, customers. We're going to have some additional new data centers. And for Secure Web Gateway, we are going to also implement the malware protection piece of it, and I'm going to talk about that also later today. We've also been working on improving our monitoring dashboard, which is going to also include active sessions widget and bandwidth monitoring. These are going to be added to the existing monitoring capabilities of the platform that include, the number of users and other parameters, number of licenses, things that kind of indicate the usage of the platform. And we also have True Always On feature coming out that allows the admins to determine that the agent for Perimeter 81 on the client is actually going to stay on as a company policy. In Q3, we plan to deliver advanced reporting and alerts and advanced logging. We are going to improve our logging mechanism and include infrastructure logs and tunnel status logs to improve the debuggability and the transparency of our system. And we're also going to implement alerts to allow the admin to configure the notifications in case certain events happen. In Q4, we are going to provide endpoint protection integration. We are talking to multiple vendors now, and we are working on that implementation as we speak. And we are also going to launch the CASB first feature, which is going to include CASB inline inspection of the traffic, leveraging our ability to inspect the traffic as it goes through the network in transit through our gateways. So as you can see, we have a very exciting year coming up with a lot of new features that are going to enhance the security, improve the user experience, and provide more value to you, our customers. Now let's talk about the subject of this webinar today, which is the Secure Web Gateway. Why is it important to have a secure web gateway at all, right? And this is a question you may ask yourself. So first of all, the internet is where we all live and work, right? Everybody's working from home. Nobody is, a lot of companies are not utilizing any kind of specific internet security mechanisms. And the internet is dark and full of terror, right? As we just raised in a post. So we need to make sure that no threats can actually come from the internet and from our normal day-to-day browsing and working into the endpoint, and from there spread laterally into the organizational resources. there's been statistic that there's new internet-based or web-based attack every 39 seconds, and we've all heard about different attacks that really manage to harm a lot of infrastructure, from hospitals to gas stations to a lot of e-commerce businesses over the last few months. So this is why a secure web gateway is needed to protect the user, protect the organizations from these kind of threats. How does it do that? First of all, it restricts phishing and other malicious sites. We actually look at the way that the user access the internet, looking at the URL that they are going to, and we can detect phishing sites and other malicious sites that may be harmful for the employees and may contain bad content. We can also prevent malware access, both on-site with malvertising and downloaded files. We can scan the actual data as it goes on the line on the network, and prevent the malwares from actually reaching the endpoint and possibly infecting other endpoints as well. We can track and prevent illicit web access by employees, basically preventing them from accessing sites that may not comply with our company policy and that may not be should not be used as part of a work routine. So this is why secure web gateway is important to protect your employees and your company against those threats that come from the World Wide Web. So how does web filtering work? And we're going to transition to Ophir in a few minutes to look at how the product actual work. But let me describe this in theory before you actually see the demo, so you have a little bit more context. So first of all, the way that web filtering works, which is the first part of secure web gateway, is that it limits access to websites with member and condition specific rules, meaning I can define who can access which website and determine that based on a specific website or based on category. Those categories are updated daily. So in case there's a new malware, there's a new phishing site that has come out, we are going to be updating our intelligence database and be able to block that threat in a real-time manner. We are protecting the users from endpoint even when they are not connected. That means that even when the user does not have their agent, their Perimeter 81 agent connected to the corporate network, we are still going to protect the user against those internet threats, meaning we are still going to apply the secure web gateway, the internet security policy, even when the user is not connected to their corporate network, meaning maybe they are not working right now. Maybe they are just browsing the internet for their own leisure. We will still be protecting the user against possible infections that come from the network. We also provide bypass rules in case somebody wants to bypass specific site and not look into private traffic, for example. That is useful in case of compliance regulations, etc. And we provide activity logs for denied and warned access so that the admin, you as our customer, will be able to see those events and check, what kind of website have been denied or blocked, potentially take care of that potential issue or bypass that if that's not an issue at all. All right, let's go to the demo, and I will hand it over to Ophir, which is with a product manager in our team responsible for the secure web gateway feature.
So thank you, Tal. Hello, everybody. My name is Ophir. I'm the product manager of the Secure Web Gateway. And today I would like to show you how easy it is to configure web filter rules, protect your users from web threats, and enforce company policy. So the web filtering has two parts. The first part is the web console, where you as admins can configure the rules and policies. And the other part is the agent, where your end user is going to be affected by those rules. So let's start with the web console. So we have here our new web filter rules screen, where you can see and manage your web filter rules. You can see here for some examples of rules. For instance, block access to malicious sites, block risky sites, or warn suspicious sites. You can even decide to block a very specific site. For instance, if you would like to block Dropbox, for example, or any other IT app that you would not like your user to use in your organization, and so on. Another thing that you can see here is the default rule. This will going to be applied in case none of the rule will be matched. Now I'd like to show you how easy it is to configure a rule. So let's click here on the add new rule. For instance, let's block access to news. Now I should choose what will be the action. We have deny, that the traffic will be blocked and the user will see a blocking page. You will see it in a minute. You can choose to allow it. The traffic will just pass. And the last thing is to warn. The user will see a warning page, but still will have the option to proceed to the site. So let's choose here deny. Source, I can choose from any user or group from my tenant. Let's, for instance, choose HR. And then I should choose the destination. I can choose from two options. I can choose from web categories. We have more than 80 categories that are being updated on a daily basis. Let's see here, many categories. Let's choose news and media. And the other approach that I can choose is also to block specific rule. Let's assume that specific URL. Let's assume that I consider Facebook as a news site. I can choose here Facebook. And I can decide if I would like to block the entire domain of Facebook or even just a specific group. Okay, because I can block a URL or the whole domain. Okay, the last thing that I can do also is to decide when this rule going to be applied. What is the time range? So I can decide, for instance, to block things only on the working hours. For instance, from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. and also on the working days. That's it. Now I have a rule. I can just apply if I want, and that's it. The last thing that I would like to show you here is that the rules are organized by their priority. It means, and you can play with it very quickly. It means that you can, for instance, configure a more extended rule, for instance, block streaming to all of the company, but then exclude some specific group, for instance, the marketing, with a higher priority rule. Now let's continue to the bypass rules. The bypass rules allows you to decide which traffic will be bypassed by the web filter rule mechanism. The main use cases for that is to bypass private traffic. For instance, if you would not like to look into health, financial, or any other sensitive information your users are using. And the other one is to deal with applications that you would not like to be interrupted by the web filtering mechanism. Now let's jump to the other part of the feature where your end user is going to be experienced your feature. So I decided here before to block gambling. So let's see how it's going to look. So for instance, one of my users trying to go to gambling.com. You see a blocking page and can't go to that site. Another example can be to go to a warn site. And then I see a warning page, but with an option to proceed to the site. An important thing here to see is that I just need to have a working agent. I should be connected to the tenant, but I'm not connected to a VPN network. It means that you can protect all of your users in the company, even though the ones that doesn't need access to company resources. You can protect everyone. It's an always-on protection. The last thing that I would like to show you is the web activity. You have we are logging for you all the blocked and warned attempt, and you can see for each attempt who was the user, to which URL he tried to serve, what was the action, the category, and even the rule that was applied on that attempt. That's it. I hope that you saw how easy it is to configure and protect your users from web threats. Thank you.
Thank you, Ophir. Oh, sorry. Just as a reminder to everyone that you can always ask questions at any time. So if you have any questions about Ophir's demo, please add them in the question box and we'll address them at the end of the presentation. Sorry, Tal, back to you.
No problem at all. Thank you, Miriam. Thank you, Ophir. That was a really good demo. I hope everybody got to see all the different features that are enabled over there. And let's talk a little bit about now that you understand how the feature works and what kind of capabilities we provide. Let's talk about this the feature that we're talking about, the secure web gateway, and specifically the URL filtering versus another approach to the same threat prevention capability, which is the DNS filtering, right? There are some companies that offer DNS filtering as the main solution, and some of our customers would potentially ask themselves, hey, why would I use URL filtering instead of DNS filtering? So the answer is both of them have their own merits, and it really depends on the level of protection you would like to get. But in the end, if you are aiming to get the best protection for your business, for your corporate resources, you would be better to actually use both of them. And I'll explain why in a bit. So first of all, DNS filtering works in a different granularity than URL filtering. DNS filtering works in a network level rules based on DNS queries, whereas URL filtering, web filtering, can actually allow you to have a policy that is based on users and groups. That means that, for example, if you wanted to block social media for your entire company, but wanted to allow it for just the, say, HR team so they can look for, promising candidates, you can do that with URL filtering when you are defining the category of social media for that specific group of HR. On the DNS level, you can do that only on a per network basis, meaning you would only block, you only have the option of blocking, social media for your entire network. So the granularity is finer with web filtering, and that actually enables you to have that policy defined on a per user or group. Now, talking about the enforcement point. The DNS filtering capability requires network connection, or requires the agent to be connected to the actual network. This is how it works for DNS filtering. If you are connected to the network, you are routed through the DNS of our system, and this is how we provide the enforcement of the policy. Now, with URL filtering, you actually have agent-level enforcement. The enforcement is done on the agent itself, even if it is not connected to the corporate network. Meaning, even if your employees are using the web at their leisure time, not connected to the corporate network for any kind of work resources, they are still protected against the internet threats, and that's a very high benefit of having URL filtering, because it protects the user at any time. Now, looking at HTTPS inspection, DNS cannot actually inspect HTTPS traffic, meaning encrypted web traffic, whereas the web filtering can inspect the HTTPS traffic. It actually is able to decrypt and encrypt the traffic and look at the actual traffic itself and search for malware a little bit later on. But it can also provide a better inspection for the traffic, even at the DNS level. Now, and the last point is about malware protection. Malware protection is provided using DNS filtering by blocking DNS queries to malicious domains. That means that we are using reputation-based list, a block list, basically, that is loaded to the DNS. And whenever a user tries to access, potentially accidentally, a malicious website, it is blocked in the DNS level, meaning they will not even be able to get to the website itself. They will not be able to reach the IP, so to speak, of that website. So they are completely protected. Nothing is going to reach them. The URL filtering works in a bit of a different way. First of all, it can also block specific domains and websites that are defined as malicious. But it can also run an anti-malware engine that inspects all the traffic that goes on the web, that goes to the actual web services, and inspects specific signatures for known malwares and Trojans, worms, and any kind of threat that is based out there. So when you look at in the two services, the DNS filtering and the URL filtering, you can see that they can serve different purposes. And the best practice is actually to have both of them enabled, because both of them will be able to catch those threats at their different levels. Whereas the URL filtering is going to provide you with additional granularity and more tight security, because it provides the anti-malware capabilities that look into the traffic and detects for malware. So the DNS filtering is more like a high-level coverage, and the URL filtering is the more granular way of inspecting the traffic and also blocking specific sites and categories. So now let's talk about best practices. Okay, you decided to install a secure web gateway service in your organizations. What should you do with it? What are the best practices? So we have some basic recommendations here for you. We do actually have many more, and you'll be able to find them in our user manual. But basically, let's talk about the few ones that you will install right away when you're installing your new secure web gateway service. First of all, we recommend you allow access as default to all websites, because it is easier to block desired categories and URLs that can be either malicious or against the company regulation. It is easier to block specifics rather than allow, all the allow the specifics. So we recommend allowing access as the default for all users, and basically block the specific sites of the categories that we are going to talk about in the next few bullets. So what should you block, right? The first thing you would do is to block the obvious things, which are malicious sites, such as phishing, fraudulent sites, malware, spam, keyloggers, etc. So you can actually define to block this type of category. You would also want to block employees from reaching illegal sites that might harm the company reputation, things they should not be logging into while they are doing their job, such as gambling, drug-related content, adult content, etc. So these are, very basic rules that we recommend that you implement right away, because they protect against most of the threats and violations that can actually happen there on the web. We also recommend to set a warning for employees when they're trying to access suspicious sites. So suspicious sites or uncategorized sites can be of all types of content and sources. We don't necessarily recommend you block them immediately, but we do recommend that you have a warning for the employee that they may be reaching a site that could be suspicious. So they should handle with care, so to speak. And last but not least, we recommend implementing some bypass rules for known applications, and that include secure or sensitive data, such as health applications and personal sensitive data type of applications. You can set those bypass rules in our bypass screen, and we do recommend to use those for applications that we know are fully secured, and we know the domain very well, and we know that potentially there is not going to be anything harmful on those. I know that some customers have been using bypass rules for Microsoft updates, for example. If you define a specific URL that is exactly the one that Microsoft is using, then this should be secured and does not necessarily have to go through our scanning mechanism. Other examples could potentially be Zoom meetings or other kind of video streaming services that could be a little bit more sensitive to latency and jitter, and sometimes would perform better on when they are bypassed. All right. moving to the next slide that talks about the malware protection. So our secure web gateway service includes both the web filtering section and the malware protection that is going to be delivered in Q2. Together, they are the one secure web gateway feature that provides both the URL filtering and the malware protection. And this feature is coming in Q2 to enhance the security on all users when they are browsing the internet. What does malware protection do? First of all, it scans all web traffic and file downloads for malicious content. It recognizes the malicious content based on signatures, based on other parameters that are kind of repeating or kind of characteristic to the session itself. So it can actually analyze the traffic and block that traffic according to those. It can block the malicious content before it can reach the browser, meaning we are stopping that at the network level before it actually reaches the browser and is able to execute any code or any kind of executables that may be running as part of a phishing site or any kind of malware that is going to install itself, such as viruses, trojans, worms, ransomware, etc. We will also notify the user and the admin, create a log entry for that event such that the administrator can see that a malware has been detected on the access to that specific site. All of this is going to provide the security and also the visibility that an admin needs in order to detect there's been some kind of a threat to their network and a potential malware or any kind of security breach into their system. So this is all going to be coming in Q2, and the secure web gateway is going to include both those features, the URL filtering and the malware protection. They're going to be sold kind of combined as one feature, and we're going to start the trial and rollout later on in Q2, and of course we will be communicating, notifying you as our customers about the release of this feature.